Hi, Shanna Forrestall here again with Not Just Small Talk, and my guest today is AJAX with Magnolia Yoga Studio in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I am so excited to talk to her today. She is a woman of color, she is a female business owner in New Orleans, and she is a groundbreaker in the field of yoga and specifically with her hot yoga studio. She's got some great things to teach us, and I'm so excited she's here. Our topic today is sweat plus yoga equals success. Hi, Shanna Forrestall here with another episode of Not Just Small Talk, and my guest today is AJAX, and I am so excited that she's here. So, you guys know I've gotten into hot yoga, but what you don't know, well maybe you know because I did post about it, what you don't know is when I come to New Orleans, I have a favorite studio here, and it is AJAX's studio. And it's called Magnolia Yoga. It's on the border of the French Quarter. It's not in the quarter, it's like right on the edge, which is perfect. And it's just special. And so ever since I found it, I attended even a workshop when I was in town at your studio, and I've just met some beautiful people there, and I love the heart and soul of what's happening there. So since I'm in New Orleans for Fashion Week, I thought I would sit down with this awesome lady and let her tell us a little bit about what's happening. Tell us about your studio, because it's unique, and I want people to hear the story.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Well, we are turning 3 next year,
Wow,
next weekend,
wonderful.
October 5th, yes. And so 3 years, and as I reflect back on these 3 years, I'm so proud of so much of what we have accomplished. It really has been a dream manifested, one student at a time. We built this business one person at a time. And that intimacy that's required for healing is something I believe in. And I knew that we were bringing it to a new corner of New Orleans, a historical African-American community that's never had this opportunity. So it's quite an honor and a privilege, and we're working it. We're doing the best work we can possibly do. We've looked back in these 3 years and tried to figure out, well, why is this working, right? And because I've taught all over the country. I'm originally from California, as I just shared with you a while ago, but I've taught in New York, I've taught internationally. And I luckily have taught for some of the best. I got the best practices that they did, and then I filled in the gaps that my heart, my experience brought, right? As a multicultural woman, I'm half Mexican, half African American. I have a degree in anthropology, so I love culture, all cultures.
Right.
And I never saw enough diversity represented.
Yes.
Even in big mecca cities like LA and New York.
It's not enough.
It's not enough, and it's a combination of access. It's a combination of really seeking that person and making it available to them and okay for them. And so I was able to represent full figure. I was representing, you know, African American, multicultural, a lot of different things I get to represent in the health and wellness industry that is highly needed.
Yes.
And so we've been a magnet. People have been very curious, very supportive, and we've created a brand new clientele base focusing on 3 main things, which is diversity, inclusivity, and affordability.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, because I mean, I grew up here in Louisiana, but I was small town in Gonzales.
Okay.
And even though I am white, we were on the poor side for sure, and we weren't taught about yoga. Like I didn't have access to any of these natural kind of workout regimens or even a natural eating mindset. All of these things were kind of foreign to me until I moved away from here. Yeah. So there are huge communities in the U.S., I think pockets, where this knowledge and this type of lifestyle has not been fully put out there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the size is an issue. You know, it's like we're not, our society is so messed up. And I appreciate so much about your studio that when you go in there, you do literally see diversity. And you do see all people of all beautiful sizes and colors. And like, it makes me so happy. Because even though I am in LA, your studio is way more diverse than the studio I go to.
Isn't that interesting?
And mine is the more diverse of the ones around me. Because that's where I'm most comfortable. But yeah, no, from the minute I walked in, I felt like, oh, and I felt and inclusiveness. There was also no reverse because I am the token white girl or whatever. You know what I mean? I didn't even feel that. Everybody was so sweet to me. I went to a workshop and had a blast. The Oshun Goddess Workshop was amazing.
And
that's
what you went
and it was amazing. And the women were incredible, and I learned so much and had such a beautiful day just sharing with them and experiencing everything and learning. I've always been captivated by Oshun. And so, yeah, I mean, it just, your studio stands out to me, and I know that comes from you. What I've found is when I go to different studios, the mentality, the uniqueness comes from the top. So whoever's set at the top is setting the precedent for what kind of spirit gets passed down. So what kind of instructors they choose, what kind of attitude is facilitated, what kind of inclusiveness is or is not facilitated all the way down through the studio. And it's obvious to me that you've made a point to make yours diverse, inclusive, and welcoming. What I love about the classes too is I was just telling you this before, is I feel like in some studios you're pushed really hard, but they don't take into consideration what may be happening in your body, your mind, or your soul. And your studio is very much about awareness, which you know is so good when you're doing this type of work, because it can be emotional, or it can be you know, you can be releasing things that have been in your body and your mind for years.
Absolutely.
And that's why yoga is so good, and especially hot yoga, because I feel like it forces me to be present. I have learned a new form of being present just from hot yoga, literally, because I've done yoga before, but hot yoga has changed my life, and now I understand why people love it. I'm addicted now. I love it because there's nothing like it. Nothing centers me the same way, and nothing has trained me to be present the way that hot yoga has.
It's great. You've had some good teaching.
Oh, you know the science behind it. Can you talk a little bit about speak to that? Because I know it works, but I don't necessarily know why.
I love the science behind it, and that's what I think also makes it successful, is that we have a whole heart component to it, to how we present yoga, but we also have the science, kind of the mind behind it, right? And so the heat is there to replicate the original conditions that yoga was found from. Whether you want to trace it all the way back to Egypt, or you want to trace it to India, both of those cultures are hot and humid.
That's true. I never thought about that.
And so, and even more hot and humid than New Orleans.
Right.
So that's part of why we have the heat. We use radiant heat, which I highly recommend. Any hot yoga studios that are considering doing something else with their heat, I would recommend radiant heat. It's the more natural way to heat the body from the top down, the way the sun does. It's also more green energy. And it's not hot air blowing in your face. It's more just warming you up from the inside out. Now, in addition to the heat, what they found out is that it expedites the healing process. So the benefits you get, all yoga is good, but the benefits you get from a regular non-heated, let's say, yoga class versus a hot, intentional yoga class are night and day. I mean, it cuts the healing by half, if not faster. And people get instant healing from one class. A shoulder injury that's been there for years, you know, a depression that's been looming for years. Like, people can release that stuff in one class. And so that's the heat. So the heat is a healing agent. You know, I tell people, like, we're warm-blooded mammals, you know, and we're ruled by the sun. And so heat has been a healer for thousands of years for us, and so we use it strategically. I think because hot yoga's been around for so long, a good studio owner, a good studio knows how to use the heat as a tool, because that's what it is. It's just a tool, and it's a tool to sharpen your mind, to help you become present. That's why the mirrors are there as well. And that's hard for people, and that's why some people don't want to do it, because it's teaching us, and that's the Eastern mentality being brought into yoga, being brought into the Western world, forcing us to face what's happening right now and learning how to get through it, right? No one wants to be in pain indefinitely, but there are times that are painful to come. How do you get through them? Do you run away? Do you ignore it, pretend like it's not happening, take some pills? What do you do? And so what yoga's teaching is to face it with breath, with stillness, with options. You have options. And so we create these conditions that include heat for physical benefits. It expedites your circulatory system, and the more blood with all that deep breathing you're doing, that's the life force that you're systematically getting into the shoulder, getting into the endocrine system, getting into the nervous system. And that's how you start to revitalize. That 26 posture series is also part of the formula that is accentuating this heat component. And so those 26 postures take you through your entire body.
And if you haven't done the traditional 26 posture, like, it is powerful.
It is.
I do all different kinds now. I kind of change it up, but there's something very powerful about the original series.
Yeah.
And I guess because it's designed specifically for the heat, or
well, it's designed to go through the body in a very systematic way, starting with your respiratory system, and then moving on to the nervous system, the spine, the big joints, the big muscles. So there's a lot of intention behind it. And then it gets refined and it gets into the reproductive system, the lymphatic system. So it's very thought out. It's a genius system. Is it the only one available? No, not necessarily. However, that one has been very well thought out. And so
I noticed the impact on my breathing from that system. If I do that one more than others, it's better than anything I've ever done.
It's second to none.
Like it just you can feel it. It opens you up. It forces you to breathe.
That alone changes your life. When you can deep breathe on a regular basis, not just in yoga class, but throughout your day, throughout your sleep. I mean, it's a game changer. It's a small thing that we take for granted. But in hot yoga, as you know, you have to be conscious about your breathing. And then that transfers hopefully throughout your day.
Well, and it does. And that's why I love it, because if you start doing it regularly, you do find yourself, and I found myself in my life now incorporating the principles that I'm learning. And it's literally changing the way I live. It's changing the way I deal with stress. It's changing the way I work through hard times and hard moments, because you're right. I mean, there's something so beautiful about the process. You'll get to a moment where you're just like, I'm just gonna fall over. And then you get through it. Like,
and then try again.
Calm yourself and not have anxiety. Not be so judgmental of yourself. Exactly, just like breathe and go, it's okay where I am, it's okay who I am, it's okay to be nice to myself right now.
And this is such an important,
and just to do what I can.
This is such an important thing too. I'm so happy that we're talking about this specifically, because people who've never done yoga don't understand how it changes your life, right? Because it's a big claim. Like, hey, this thing's gonna change your life. That's a huge claim that most people have heard on infomercials and all kinds of different places, and it doesn't work. Or whatever, it didn't work for them, okay? But yoga, you hear most people who do it say, hey, this thing will enhance and change your life. But we don't often sit and decompress that, deconstruct that. How?
And give it the credit too.
And give it the steps of like, how is it doing it? Well, it's simple moments like learning how to deep breathe, learning how to change your mind, learning how to try again. We take those things for granted, but that's how you get through life.
Absolutely. I really think, I agree with her, and I really think it makes better people. I've had 2 instances where I knew specifically that it was yoga, and hot yoga in particular, that had changed the way I was operating in a situation.
That's awesome.
And one was I was doing a photo shoot, and I was having to hold my body, you know, you're awkward positions for a long time, and used to be you would stress it to a point and you're like trying to hold on, stress, and then you're just like, oh, I've got to stop, right? But I caught myself in the middle of the photo shoot, and instead of doing that, I was like noticing where the tension was. I was breathing into the area and able to last so much longer, release my own pain and be aware of it, and be kind to myself. When I got to my stopping point, I was able to say, okay, I'm going to need a break. But it wasn't like this thing of forcing myself to attention where it like broke myself. It was, I was continuously aware, able to adjust, stay longer, protect myself, and when I needed to stop. And I thought, wow, I literally learned that in hot yoga, but it's applying to just like this creative photo shoot. And then, I mean, it's amazing to me how it really does play out in real life.
And that's how you know that's that mind-body connection. Because you made a connection in your body and your mind. And that's the beauty of yoga. That's what kind of distinguishes yoga from Pilates. From running, from other, and I love those sports as well. I love those ways, those activities, but there is a very specific set of results and benefits that you get from yoga that you are not replicable anywhere else. And so, and that's those new connections you're making in your brain, new behaviors, new habits, because we're creatures of habit.
Absolutely.
And so, and so in yoga, you're learning how to eliminate or reduce bad habits and improve and increase better habits. And so that's a connection that's happening internally that once you make it, then you have it to fall back on.
Right.
And what's awesome, as you know, is that you can do it at any age.
So this is lovely. Thank you so much for coming to talk about your studio. And guys, if you're in New Orleans, whether you live here and you can just be a regular student, which would be lovely, or you're here visiting as I do, you can go into the studio and go buy a pack of classes or whatever while you're here. Check her out. You're on Instagram.
Yes. At Magnolia Studio.
So follow her there because there's going to be a second location, which you want to hear about and you want to check out if you come into town. But look, I promise you, this is the best studio in the city. Don't waste your time. Don't go. Just go.
Yes, come
and follow them on Instagram and follow AJAX's journey and everything she's doing. She's good on social, so there's a lot of great content coming out. Follow her there. Thank you so much for coming on.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks, everybody.